Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today back in the studio for Letters from TV Licensing, Volume 15, and the latest letter in this particular saga and series of videos. Now, for those of you out there who followed this series of videos right from the beginning, no explanation is needed really. You know what it's all about, and you know what I'm going to do in a moment or two. But for those of you out there who've just dropped on this video randomly, maybe it's popped up in your recommended list, or you've never seen one of these videos before, and you're wondering what this is all about, I'll briefly try and explain for you. About 6 years ago, myself and my wife, Mrs H, we decided to cancel our television licence here in the UK. And the reason we decided to cancel was, we found that with each passing month and each passing week, we was watching less and less live television content per week. And it got to one stage where we was watching less than an hour's television per week. So at that stage, we got our heads together and we decided to cancel the television licence, because we'd come to the conclusion that the price of a television licence, which then stood at £145.50, was a lot of money to be spending on the luxury of having live television in our homes when we was only watching it for 1 hour per week. So I cancelled the licence and we redistributed the wealth back into the H household. And to be fair, it's been a good, sound financial decision for us, because it now means that we spend the money on the things that we want to spend it on, rather than giving it to the BBC to spend on content that we would neither have any interest in or would bother watching. The only fly in the ointment, really, of this decision has been the rather aggressive letters that television licensing send out to all the households in the UK that don't have a television licence but refuse to communicate with them. And what I do in this series of videos, I showcase those letters that drop through the H letterbox, and I make a bit of a video about them and just show you the sort of tactics, the sort of lies and little half-truths that television licensing like to peddle onto the British public to try and get them to communicate with them when they have no legal obligation to communicate with television licensing whatsoever if they so wish. So, without further ado, let's crack on and take a look at this month's letter from TV licensing, shall we? Okay folks, well, assuming as always that Mr H's dodgy and ropey editing skills haven't let him down, you should now be able to see me in the top left hand corner of your screen, and in the centre of your screen you should be able to see a copy of this month's letter from TV licensing, or as we like to call them in the legally licence free community, a threatogram. Now, all I can tell you regarding this particular threatogram is that it landed on the mat at H Towers sometime last week. The reason I can't give you an exact date is I was off on holiday with Mrs H and my little son Toby James, and we was enjoying ourselves in sunny Rhyl while this threatogram was awaiting Mr H's return home. So, let's crack into and jump on to this month's letter from TV licensing, shall we? So, in the top left hand corner there is a blank space. Normally there would sit my address, and above it there would be the title, The Legal Occupier. Now, the reason TV licensing like to use the term legal occupier is when they don't know who lives at a particular address, they insert the legal or present occupier to try and give the letter some kind of authority and some kind of gravity, and to try and make it look important when in reality it's just a bit of junk mail really, and you can ignore it if you so wish. Now, also in that area there will be a number of QR codes dotted around, you know, those little square things that are in black and white. The idea of the QR code is to make it uniquely identifiable to my address, so for obvious reasons I've removed that. Over in the top right hand corner we have the TV licensing logo, and beneath that we have the TV licensing web address. Now, what I've been advising people to do in previous letters from TV licensing videos is, unless you really need to go onto the TV licensing website, stay off it. Now, what I mean by needing to go on it is, if you wish to cancel your licence or do some other kind of business with TV licensing, then you'll need to go onto the website, obviously. But if you're just going on there out of idle curiosity and you're not going to be doing any business with them, stay off it. The reason I tell people to do that is it has been compromised in the past with hackers, and also TV licensing will install little cookies and other little tracking things onto your machine to see where you've been whilst you've been on their website. So you don't really want crap putting onto your computer or whatever device you use, do you? Now, jumping back to the letter, we have underneath all that, unlicensed property. That's in black and it's in bold. Beneath that, we would have a reference number. Again, I've removed that because it's uniquely identifiable to my property. Then we have the date that this was sent out, which is July 2020. Then we get into the letter itself, and it's titled, Act Now to Stop an Investigation. That's in bold and it's in orange, and it's using language such as Act Now, an investigation, to again try and give this some kind of authority and some kind of gravity and make me act upon it. The letter goes on to state, Dear Sir / Madam, whatever device you are viewing on, if you do not have a TV licence and you're watching or recording live TV programmes on any channel at this address, or downloading or watching BBC programmes on iPlayer, you are breaking the law. Now, in fairness to TV licensing, that opening statement, it's a true reflection of the law. That's it in a nutshell. The letter then goes on to state, as, and in that blank space, once again, they've put my address. Now, they've put my address there and repeated it to try and make it look like they've tailored this particular letter to me and my address, when in reality, it's been mass-produced by the thousands and sent out to probably thousands of other addresses last month. The letter states, is not covered by a TV licence. This address will be subject to further investigation. Again, they're trying to ramp up the fear factor and try and get me worried, really. It then goes on to state in black and in bold what you need to do next. To stop our investigation, you need to do one of the following. And then it states in bold and in black, buy a TV licence. You can either pay £157.50 now or spread the cost with a direct debit. Go to, and then they send you to the website. If that's not why you've not got a TV licence, they've given you a second option. Move your TV licence. They've put that in black and in bold once again, and it states to move your licence from an old address, visit, and they send you to another division of their website. Or call our 24/7 automated phone service on, and they give you a telephone number if you wish to ring them and contact them that way rather than use their website. Then there's a third option, but as this is not their preferred method, they haven't bothered giving it a bullet point. And it states, or if a TV licence isn't needed at this address, or if the property is currently unoccupied, please let us know that, and they send you to yet another subdivision of their website. Now, there is also a fourth option there, which TV licensing have omitted, but I'll put it in for you. And the fourth option is, or if you simply do not wish to contact TV licensing, as is your legal right, you can simply ignore this letter. But going back to the letter, it states in bold and in black, don't risk prosecution and a fine. And here's where this threatogram starts getting a little bit sketchy, and I'll explain as I go on. Until we hear from you, this property will remain under investigation, and you risk future prosecution and a fine of up to £1,000 plus any legal costs and or compensation you may be ordered to pay. There is a 99% conviction rate for licence fee evasion cases determined by the courts in England and Wales. Now, I've explained about the 99% conviction rate and how they arrive at that in a previous letter from TV licensing video. But I will recap once I wrap this video up what that means. But going back to where it states, you risk future prosecution and a fine of up to £1,000, what they're trying to do is throw out there enough breadcrumbs to get the reader to sort of jot and join all the dots up that they've put there for you, that if you don't answer this letter and you don't respond to it, you risk being prosecuted, when that's not the case. If you ignore this letter, you won't be sent to court and you won't be getting a £1,000 fine, but they're trying to make it look that way without actually coming out and stating it. Closing the letter, it states, for more information and other ways to contact us, please turn over. Now, as always, it's just the usual gubbins on the back. It's ways to contact them and set up direct debits. I'm not going to go into all that, as it's rather long-winded, and as I don't need a TV licence, there's no point reading it out, is there? Then it states, if you've recently bought or moved a licence, thank you, our records will be updated. as I don't need a TV licence and I haven't contacted you, you won't be updating your records from this household, will you? The letter closes, yours faithfully, R. Sherrington, Collections Manager. And then in small print it states, in Scotland, Scottish criminal law applies. A report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal, who will decide on prosecution. And then for some reason they're telling us that the maximum fine is £2,000 in Guernsey. Now why they've put that in this letter, I don't know. All that shows you is that this letter is mass produced and it's a mass mail shot sent out to, thousands of homes in the UK each month. Then as always it states, please do not write below this line. And as always I state, if I did write below this line, what would happen? You'd never know, would you? Right then, that's this month's letter from TV licensing, or this month's threatogram. I'll now return to the big screen and we'll look into that 99% conviction rate a little bit more in detail, and then we'll wrap this video up. And once again, assuming that Mr H's dodgy editing skills haven't deserted him, as if by magic, I should now be back on the main screen. So, what do I make of this month's letter from TV licensing, or threatogram as we like to call them here in the legally licence-free community? Well, it's not as intimidating or as threatening as some of the threatograms from yesteryear. There's no mention of enforcement visits or enforcement officers knocking on doors every 6 seconds or anything like that. But that's simply due to the fact that the COVID-19 situation has meant that they've not been allowed to do doorstep visits. I have heard a rumour that that's about to end towards the back end of August, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. No doubt, the minute they are unleashed on the public again, they will start being mentioned in the threatograms, but we'll have to wait and see when that actually happens. Now, this particular threatogram is still misleading, sadly, despite its tame nature, and it's misleading by making out that if I fail to contact TV licensing, I run the risk of getting a future prosecution and a fine of up to £1,000. It's trying to give you the impression that until you contact them, you could get a prosecution at any time, and that is not the case. Now, regarding the 99% conviction rate, how they arrive at that is, what TV licensing do is they get figures from all of the activity that the field officers have done, and those that result in a potential prosecution, they put those together and then they disregard all the ones that they have dropped for whatever reason. Either the person has chosen to challenge them and said, I'll see you in court, or they realise that it's just weak evidence and they disregard all those. They are then left with 87%, and of those they claim 99% of those result in a prosecution. So that's how they arrive at 99% conviction rate. It's only 99% of 87% of all their activity, if that makes any sense. It does get a bit confusing as they do conjure these figures up. You can make figures do anything. Right then, I'm going to get out of here now and I'm going to wrap this particular video up. That was Letters from TV Licensing Volume 15. Hopefully out there you'll all join me for Letters from TV Licensing Volume 16. And please leave your comments below on what you think of the new studio set and how I've magically made the threatogram appear in the background behind me. Anyway folks, I'm out of here, so I'll bid you a fond farewell until the next time. As always, it is bye-bye for now.